Alright, so welcome back, guys. So this time I wanted to bring you an Elemental Heroes deck. There have been several different variations of heroes that I have seen out in the wild. I don't really like any of them, mainly because it diverges from my original purpose in building the Elemental Hero deck for my friend way back in the day. I didn't even really consider them viable until it was like, what, 2014 or 15, something like that, when Blazeman and Shadow Mist came out. I think it was 14, but the point is, they made the deck a lot more consistent, but now with support for like the Vision heroes, the Solid Soldier and the Liquid Soldier, and especially Neos Fusion, because the main guy that I was helping my friend bring out was Rainbow Neos, because we both love Rainbow Neos from the GX anime. This guy was so good. I mean, he's so good in real life. Unfortunately, he's not a hero monster, so there are certain benefits that he does not get. It's like, once you become married, there are certain advantages you get with a joint checking account. It's sort of like that, except for Yu-Gi-Oh! So, Neos Fusion makes it so much easier to bring out Rainbow Neos, and you can also use them to something like the Brave Neos. But back in the day, I had to run like Melody of the Awakening Dragon and shit to bring Rainbow Dragon to my hand as soon as possible. Now I don't have to really worry about that. This can be done with materials from the deck. Not to mention it has a bonus effect that I'll get to when I get to it. But the main point of this deck is to just OTK. It's ultimate aggro. That is what it is. You need to always have two strategies in mind with any deck that you're playing with, right? What is your strategy when you go first, and what is your strategy when you go second? When you go first, you need to have as much like either negating or interrupting or making your opponent the inability to play, like for instance Dark Law. I would say one of the reasons why I'm glad I bought this, or my friend bought this back when he was super cheap back in the day, because no one used him, because it was very hard to use him. Now he's more expensive, because although I think it got reprinted, but he's still sort of expensive because he's so good with, he's basically the Macrocosmos for your opponent. Only your opponent's cards are banished instead of sent to the grave. And then also, if they add a card to the hand, or draw, hold on, how does it say? Any card sent to you? Once per turn, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, yeah, so it's add, then you get to randomly banish a card. So that's every turn during either player's turn. So that's extremely good. They lose a card. So do they, and then it would get banished as well. Not just goes to the grave, it would get banished. So that's extremely good. But you want to be able to open up with something like that fucks over your opponent, and then maybe like the Sunrise, where if they attack any hero monster except for him, then you have the option of like blowing up a card on their side of the field, or an Absolute Zero, where they really have to think about, okay, do I want to risk getting rid of Absolute Zero and all my monsters go to the grave, or a Malicious Bane, which can not only get an attack boost like once you activate it during your turn, but also this guy can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. So you set yourself up pretty nicely on your opening turn. And then if you're going second, then you want to obviously OTK, so you bring out hopefully like a Rainbow Neos or something, or maybe even I've done the Vision Hero Trinity many a time, because this guy is extremely good. He's extremely cheap. You can buy him for like 50 cents, but he's actually pretty good. Really easy to summon this guy. And then Miracle Fusion obviously will be able to extend your plays. That's the reason why everyone has to run this Sunrise. But let's start from the beginning. So we've got 3 Elemental Hero Neos. The reason why is mainly because of Neos Fusion. You want to be able to summon your Rainbow Neos as often as possible every duel, because he's just so freaking good. He's also a fusion deployment target, so I only run 2 of them. I've got these 2 in the extra deck, or in the side deck rather, because I traded them out for 3 Solemn Judgments. I used to run 2 Mass Change and 3 fusion deployments, but this is really good for an extra hero monster on the field. Typically, he's very useful. Just Neos either for the effect to bring out Brave Neos with a Polymerization, or even a Rainbow Neos sometimes. But I really like it because mainly all you're doing in this deck anyway is fusioning. So I run the 3 Rainbow Dragons. I like 3 because Rainbow Dragon can still be used up as a target for either Malicious Bane or for the Shining. So I still like it with that regard. You could actually substitute one of the Rainbow Dragons for a Rainbow Dark Dragon if you wanted to, so that way you can bring out that Skyridow. It doesn't really matter to me, this guy right here. But yeah, that is an option. So, and then I like the Spirit. So the main reason why I have these 2 obviously is to bring out Rainbow Neos. I also run Spirit of Neos. I did not actually have this guy before, but I like him because his ability to stop the OTK if your opponent just like goes all crazy on you, right? When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. If you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle. So during that turn, he cannot be destroyed by battle. And also, it doesn't have to be a direct attack, although that's probably when you're going to do it. But you can summon him when they're not direct attacking and put him on the field. And then when he is special summoned, so it doesn't even have to be technically special summoned by his own effect. But when he is, you can add a polymerization or one spell trap that mentions an elemental hero monster's card name. Gosh, does this mention an elemental hero monster's card name? It sure does. So you can bring a polymerization or a Neos fusion. I believe that's it. So that's really good, and during your main phase, you can shuffle this card into the deck, and if you do special summon one elemental hero normal monster from your deck, so you can obviously tag him out for the real Neos. Not the spirit, but the corporeal form of him. So that's really good. Honest Neos, I really like this guy. Honestly, I do, because he is basically your honest for elemental heroes. He gives you a 2500 attack boost for any hero. Keyword, any hero. Well, I guess there's two words, but the fact that it could be a masked hero, elemental hero, vision hero, or an evil hero. It doesn't work for Rainbow Neos. Again, I told you, it's better to have a joint checking account if you're married because of the benefits that you get. He's not a hero monster, so he doesn't get these certain benefits. So that's the reason why I really like Honest Hero. He's a quick effect, right? So you can be activating him at any time during your turn, during your opponent's turn. It makes your opponent think twice, especially when they see you add it with something like an E-Emergency Call. So what? You can add it with E-Emergency Call or Stratos or Shadow Mist? Yes. These do heroes. It doesn't say level 4. It's not like Reinforcing the Army where it has to be level 4 or lower. That's the reason why this guy is so good, the Honest Neos. Only run one of them, though. You can always bring him to your hand if necessary. But then he's an elemental hero monster as well, so he can be used once he's in the grave as a material for Miracle Fusion or something like that. And then one Adusted Gold, because again, he's searchable with Stratos or Shadow Mist. And when you discard him, you can search for the one Dark Calling that you have. And then you can typically have like if the Rainbow Dragon's already in the grave because of like Neos Fusion from last turn. And I'll explain the drawback of Neos Fusion a little bit later. But you can use up a useless Rainbow Dragon in the grave to then take your Adusted Gold that you just sent to the grave to add your Dark Calling. Activate Dark Calling. Banish your Adusted Gold from the grave. Banish the Rainbow Dragon that's in the grave. And boom, you got yourself a Malicious Bane. Very good card. There's a reason why he used to be $100. There's a reason why Adusted Gold used to be $100. Why they were $100, I don't know. I said there was a reason, but they weren't very good reasons. So now they're much cheaper because they got reprinted and everything. It's shocking how cheap they are now compared to the fact that they used to be $100. Although so did Quasar at one time. Shooting Quasar Dragon used to be like $100. 2 Stratoses. I think he's it's a good thing my friend already had Stratoses back when he was banned, because he's a little expensive now. He's a little pricey because he is so freaking good. The ability to... This is not once per turn, dude. So if you special summon him back with Solid Soldier's effect, as long as you don't miss the timing, because it does say when, not if, then you can activate his effect again to either add or to pop back row. Depending on how many heroes you have, you may want to actually choose the second or the first effect instead of the normal second effect, which everyone uses. That's the reason why Stratos is so freaking good. And then Liquid Soldier, I only run one of him because he's okay. He's good, but I would never want to have more than one of him. Like, I would never want to have 2 of them in my hand for sure. But also because he's still pretty expensive. Out of all the cards in here, he's still the most expensive card in this deck. Let me think. I'm looking. Yes, he is still the most expensive card in this deck, sitting at like $8 to $9, depending on where you buy him. But he's okay because when he's normal summoned, that's the reason why. Like, I typically never normal summon him because I've got other shit that I want to normal summon, like Solid Soldier, Blazeman, or Stratos. But if you do normal summon him, you can target level 4 or lower hero monster in your grave, except Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier. Special summon it, and then you could possibly get off their effect like a Shadow Mist. You can then get off his effect. And then also, if he's used up as a... so you can only use one of his effects per turn. It's sort of like Blazeman or Shadow Mist. But when he is used as a fusion material... So it could even be if he's Miracle Fused from the grave, just as if he's used as a fusion summon material for a hero monster, then I can draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card. So that's pretty good. It helps you like keep a variety of good shit, good resources in your hand. And then you can use him as an absolute 0 target. I typically will just go for Sunrise if possible, because he's my only water monster, so he just requires different attribute hero monsters. And then you've got your Solid Soldier. I'm trying to think of an analogy for him, like to another archetype. I guess he's the closest thing would be like your, oh god, what is it? The Bogart Knight, right? So your X-Saber Bogart Knight, or like a Marauding Captain, where when he's normal summon, you get a special summon 1 level 4 or lower hero monster from your hand. So that means you normal summon him, bring out Blazeman. A lot of these guys aren't just when they're normal summoned they get the effect. I mean, with Liquid Soldier it is. That's the reason why I only run one of him. But Blazeman, when he's summoned, normal or special, he gets the effect to bring Polymerization. Shadow Mist, when he is special summoned, you can bring a changed spell card from your deck to your hand. Vion, when he is normal or special summoned, you can do his effect to Foolish Burial and do all the rest of the shit. He's very good. Typically, if you have Vion in your hand and Solid Soldier, normal summon Solid Soldier, special summon Vion. He's very good. And then Stratos, when he's normal or special summon, you can do the same thing. Solid Soldier is so good. I don't know why people don't run more Solid Soldiers. I mean, I know that they have their own strategies that they want to run with, but I've tried the Destiny Hero version. That version loses to this version every single time, because this just swarms the field so easily, and it's so repairable as well. Can you, if you get negated into oblivion, can you recover? The answer is yes. I'll show some examples. But that's the main thing. Can you keep up hand resources in order to extend your plays? This deck can do that. That's the reason why I like Solid Soldier. Now, again, you need monsters that have multiple different variety of effects. So not just a Marauding Captain effect. Does he do anything else? Solid Soldier? Yes, he does. So if this card is sent from the monster zone to the grave by a spell effect, so you could, I'm trying to think of something other than like a Polymerization type of effect where he... So I guess there is some way in which it could be a different sort of... like if you mass changed him or something. I guess that would also send him from the monster zone to the grave by a spell effect. But I don't have a Masked Hero... what is his name? Masked Hero Dion. Oh, it is Dion. Okay. Then you could still get his effect. But here is how it reads. You can target one hero monster in a grave, except Solid Soldier. Special summon it in defense position. Like I mentioned, if you had like Solid Soldier and Stratos and you polymerized them, and then Solid Soldier's effect goes off, you special summon back Stratos. Stratos can activate his effect again. So Solid Soldier, special summon Stratos. Stratos gets the effect. Polymerize the two of them. Solid Soldier goes to the grave, brings back Stratos in defense position. Stratos gets his effect again, as long as whatever your fusion summoning does not interrupt Stratos' timing. Then you can get Stratos' effect twice that turn. Extremely good. And then Blazeman, like I mentioned, when he's normal special summon, he can bring Polymerization from your deck to your hand. I used to run 3 back in the day, but now with good support like the Evil Heroes, the Honest Neos, Spirit of Neos, Liquid Soldier, and Solid Soldier, I had to trim down both Shadow Mist and Blazeman, who I used to run 3 of back in the day. Oh, and then also Vion, I brought him in. And I only need 2 of him because he's searchable with Emergency Call, Reinforcement of the Army, Stratos, Shadow Mist. You can easily have a Blazeman if you need. I mean, you can even a Hero Lives for Blazeman if you really needed that. I mean, I can't remember if I've ever done that before. Typically, if I Hero Lives, I'm doing it for a Stratos, a Shadow Mist, or the Vion. But anyway, moving on, Shadow Mist. And then there is technically the other effect, which I have used once in my life, where, again, this is only, you can use one of these effects per turn only. You can only use one Elemental Hero Blazeman effect per turn and only once that turn. But during your main phase, you can activate this effect. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. Also send one Elemental Hero monster from your deck to the grave, except Blazeman. If you do, this card's attribute and attack and defense become the same as that monster sent to the grave until the end of the turn. I almost never have Blazeman still on the field to do that, because when I summon him, obviously I'm bringing Polymerization. Otherwise, why the hell would I do that? Why the hell would I not do that, rather? But he can do another Foolish Burial, sort of like the Vion, except not quite as good as Vion's ability after the Foolish Burial happens. But then you have a Shadow Mist. He is another searcher, just like Stratos. He can bring any hero monster. So typically I'm going after stuff like the Vion, if I haven't normal summoned, or if I can do a special summon with him, or a Stratos, or I can do the Honest Neos, or a lot of times what I'm doing is actually the Evil Hero Dusted Gold, so that way I can get extra fusion support out on the field. So that's the reason why Shadow Mist is very good. And then you can special summon him. So you have to choose between the two. Sometimes I will actually special summon this guy. I'll take like Solid Soldier, normal summon, special summon Shadow Mist, bring the change, the mass change to my hand, and then set mass change if I'm going first. So that way I get Shadow Mist effect to search the change. But then on my opponent's turn during the draw phase, I activate mass change, sending Shadow Mist to the grave. So now I get his other effect because it's a new turn. So I bring, I don't know, whatever, maybe an Honest Neos to my hand so that way I can beef up someone, or a Spirit Neos so that way I can stop the OTK. And then I just brought out Dark Law. As a result, Shadow Mist goes to the grave because of Mass Change effect and brings out the Dark Law. Now my opponent has to contend with Dark Law in addition to maybe that Spirit of Neos or the Honest Neos that I just brought to my hand with Shadow Mist's second effect. So that's pretty good. That's the reason why I like him. Vision Hero Vion. About the only thing that you're going to Foolish Burial for when you normal or special summon him is the Shadow Mist. Because if he's summoned, Foolish Burial, Shadow Mist just got sent to the grave, right? So you get Shadow Mist effect, bring a whatever hero monster you want to your hand, an Adjusted Gold, a Stratos, you name it. Doesn't matter. And then you can banish the Shadow Mist that you just sent to the grave to activate Vion's second effect, which is adding Polymerization straight to from your deck to your hand. That's amazing. Any monster that you have in here that gets multiple effects, like every single one of these, if you have monsters that get secondary effects like that, to be able to add more resources, create more like aggressive materials on your side of the field, you want that. But you only want one Vion. I've tried two. It's just really unnecessary. He can't be added with stuff like Emergency Call, but Emergency Call can add stuff that brings out your Vion. So the Emergency Call, it goes for almost all of these monsters. Your Neos, Spirit of Neos, Honest Neos, Stratos, all of this stuff here right up until the Vision Hero Vion. So that's the reason why Emergency Call, you have to run the obligatory 3. It's so good. Fusion Deployment, you can go after your Elemental Hero Neos. It's very good to get out additional support. Just trust me on that one. It's good. You want to have Fusion Deployment in this deck. 3, a hero lives. Here's the reason why this card was at 1 and then at 2 for the longest time. Because it helps to extend plays. Yes, it is very drastic. So you have to be careful with it. It is very drastic that you have to cut your life points in half. But to be able to get extra plays as a result of this, because it's a special summon, and a lot of these guys still get their effects off if you do special summon, I mean, it's really a no-brainer to run 3 of this. So, and then 1 Dark Calling. This is the way that you bring out your Malicious Bane. You can search for it with Adjusted Gold because this is always treated as Dark Fusion, which this guy allows you to search Dark Fusion. 3 Neos Fusions. So this is the last card that you want to activate before you like do battling or something. Because when you do activate this card, you cannot special summon any more that turn. So it's any more. So you can do everything you want up until you activate Neos Fusion. But once Neos Fusion happens, that monster is the last one you're summoning that turn. Yeah, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters. So there you go. It has a really good effect. You just use materials from your deck. It can also be from your hand, but typically I want to use it from my deck to summon Rainbow Neos or Brave Neos. You can also use this to summon Kluger, but God forbid you would run a Yubel in this deck. I have seen people run Kluger before, but those decks really suck. They just really liked Kluger, I guess. But it has a secondary effect, and like I said, you need cards and monsters, things that have multiple effects in order for you to stay alive for as long as possible. This is like the Return of the Dragon Lords, where if you have a fusion monster you control that lists Elemental Hero Neos as material would be destroyed by battle or card effect or shuffled into the extra deck by its own effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So this also works for the... oh shit, what are they called? The Neospatian monsters, right? You can just banish him from the grave instead. I don't run Neospatian monsters, though. I've tried it. I've worked on compilations that revolve around Neospatian as the theme. They suck. This deck would destroy that in no time flat. And you got to run 3 Neos Fusions. It's so freaking good. And this card is searchable. Remember, how do you search it out? Spirit of Neos is one way, but then also if you have Brave Neos, whenever he destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can add 1 spell trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Elemental Neos in this deck. So you just add another Neos Fusion. So that's pretty good. And then you got your 3 obligatory polymerizations. Your 1 reinforcement in the army, you got to run it. This is a fucking warrior deck. 2 Miracle Fusions. Some people only run 1. I think that's a foolish choice. If you already have Miracle Fusion in your hand and you summon Sunrise, that's sort of a waste, right? You could get a free resource to your hand. Not to mention, I like the Miracle Fusion a lot. It's not like it's once per turn that you get to use this card. It's extremely good. And then Mass Change because you need it. It's so good to be able to take Absolute Zero, Mass Change into Acid, blow up their front row, and then when Acid hits the field, it blows up their back row. So you just Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster their entire field. But most of the time, I'm taking either Vion or Shadow Mist, and I'm going into Dark Law. You can also go into Koga, because, well, I mean, it's really simple to just Fusion Deployment for Element Hero, Neos, Mass Change into Koga. And this guy is good in certain situations. Don't know why his card art is Japanese, but he's extremely good. And then I ran 3 Solemn Judgments to make it a little more competitive. The reason why, typically I will run a different form of the Solemn Brigade, which is like 2 Solemn Strikes and a Solemn Warning. But because you're cutting your life points in half, you never want to have to like give up a certain amount of life points, like 1,500 or 2,000, because, I mean, you're cutting yourself already down to 4,000. So Solemn Judgment can always be activated, because you can always cut your life points in half. I mean, unless you're dead, right? But you can always cut your life points in half. So that's the reason why I prefer Solemn Judgment. It helps you stay alive for longer, especially if you're going first, and you can open up with Solemn Judgment face down and a Dark Law and like a Malicious Bane. That's a pretty good situation that you're going to be in. And then you've got your extra deck here. Okay, I'll try to make this go fast because I'm running a little long again. So Rainbow Neos, very easy to summon. You either Palmerize the Rainbow Dragon or the Rainbow Dragon and Elemental Hero Neos in your hand, or you just Neos Fusion for him. Send 1 monster that you control to the grave. Shuffle all monsters on your opponent's side of the field back into their deck. Doesn't target, doesn't destroy. He's got 4,500 attack. Send 1 spell trap you control to the grave. Shuffle all spells and traps your opponent controls into the deck. Clear out the back row. And then one of his most underrated effects, mill a card to shuffle all cards your opponents that are in your opponent's graveyard back into their deck. Talk about a big FU for so many archetypes. That is extremely good. And all it took was you to mill a card. That's just like chump change right there. He's extremely good. You want to run multiple of him, because I have summoned multiple Rainbow Neoses, not on the same turn, but like back-to-back turns. So in the same duel, it's very good to be able to have him at 4,500. Malicious Bane, you have to be careful when you have Rainbow Neos because of Malicious Bane. So he's good because he cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. So he stays on the field for a pretty long time. And he has another effect which is very good. During your main phase, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card. And then for however many monsters you destroy that way, he gains 200 attack. So that's pretty good. But the downside is only hero monsters can attack for the rest of the turn. So that means Rainbow Neos, I'm sorry, my friend, if only you had married me, and then you would be a part of that deal with a joint checking account that all the other hero monsters get a benefit from. That's the way it is. But he is still super good, and I love Malicious Bane, especially if you have to open up with him, because he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. It's so good. And then you've got your Great Tornado. He's very good in certain situations. You can obviously use Stratos and then any other elemental hero monster to summon him. It doesn't target, doesn't destroy. It just cuts their monster's attack and defense in half. So that's pretty good. So you can get over a Dragoon that way, assuming that you already baited him into activating something else. But the Great Tornado is pretty good. He's got a nice attack as well. Nova Master, one of my friends who really likes heroes, he wants to build this deck as well because he sees how good I mean, he needs a lot of practice because he doesn't understand all the sort of like combinations. This deck is fairly easy to play, but you got to pay attention to what your opponent has in order to know how to like instruct your own moves. But Nova Master, I really like this guy because he's easy to summon, easy enough to summon, and to be able to draw a card. He's got a good attack. He's got a good amount of attack, and then also you get to draw cards when you destroy your opponent's monsters. But then you've got the Shining. You can use up useless shit like a spare Neos that's on the field or a Rainbow Dragon. And then you can obviously Miracle Fusion for this guy as well if you've got a Rainbow Dragon in the grave or something like that. But this card gains 300 attack for each of your banished elemental hero monsters. So when this card is sent from the field to the grave, you can target up to 2 of your banished elemental hero monsters, add those targets to your hand. Secondary effects that give you some sort of gain, in this case, hand advantage. That's extremely good. So that's the reason why I like the elemental hero, the Shining. Sort of like Escuridao, but he's on the dark side of things. This guy gains benefit from banished elemental heroes. This guy gains advantage from in the Grave elemental heroes. And then I already explained Acid. He's a Harpy's Feather Duster when you can bring him out. Absolute Zero. Already explained him. He's a Raigeki once he leaves the field. Vision Hero Trinity. Requires 3 heroes in order to fusion summon him. But it's okay, because a lot of times your opponent will set themselves up with like 3 attack position monsters. He gets to double his attack when he comes out, and he can attack 3 times on monsters. So that's 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. I've OTK almost every single time I've summoned this guy, I've OTK'd with him. And then you've got Koga. So this guy can be special summoned with Mass Change if you're taking like an elemental hero Neos. So you can summon him. This card gains 500 attack for each monster your opponent controls. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can banish a hero monster from the grave, then target one face-up monster on the field. That target loses attack equal to the attack. That's pretty good. Now, it does target, so you're not going after like a Dragoon or anything. But you could banish one of your hero monsters and then drop their attack. Brave Neos gains 100 attack for each Neospatian and hero monster in your grave, so it gets an attack boost from that. And then also you get a certain, whenever it destroys a monster by battle, I already told you, it gets to search out the Neos fusion. So that's very good. I like that. And then you got your Sunrise. This is probably the most summoned fusion monster in this deck. And that's because he's easy to summon. 2 hero monsters with different attributes. Very easy to summon. And then when he does get summoned, you get to bring out Miracle Fusion from your deck to your hand. So that's very nice. And then also, when an attack is declared involving another hero monster you control, you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Even if it's a back row, a field spell. You name it, get it out of there. During either player's turn. So when they are attacking another one of your heroes, or when you're attacking one of their monsters with one of your other heroes, it is one of those cards that your opponent's like, well shit, I gotta get rid of the Sunrise first. It's sort of like the Marauding Captain, where you have to direct all of the attacks towards the Sunrise, because you gotta get him off the field if you don't want shit being popped constantly. So that's the reason why I really like him. And Dark Law, already mentioned him. He's a Macrocosmos for your opponent. Not to mention you get to banish a card from their hand when they add a card to their hand. So that's during either player's turn. And it's random, but still, that's nice. And then the worst case scenario is I have to summon a Taper. So I'll use Solid Soldier, special summon another level 4, sit on the Taper, but that almost never has to happen. So, and that's pretty well it. Let's go ahead and jump into the duels. So this was us using the hero decks against each other. So this was my friend who's trying to learn how to use this deck effectively. And he messed up big time. I told him afterwards, dude, there was so much other shit that you could have done, but oh well. There you go. I mean, he messed up so badly, it was not even funny. Oh, at one time I was running the Ash Blossoms, but I don't run that anymore. It's unnecessary. There you go. See? And Malicious Bane's effect is just so freaking good. This is part of the reason why I don't run the Ash Blossom anymore, is because it's just not even necessary. You want to get as much hero support in your hand, especially opening it up, as possible. Yeah, that fucks over ABC decks big time. And that also fucks over ABC decks. Basically, that's all there is to it. You can make any adjustments as you see fit, but this is what works well for me. I enjoy it. I really do love Heroes. It's pretty straightforward in terms of what you want to achieve. Just how you achieve it, though, it obviously depends on the situation. And there are ways of gaining more of an advantage based on the order in which you play certain monster effects, okay? And then also always keep in mind the Neos Fusion drawback, okay? That's the end of your summonings for that turn, or at least special summons. Yeah, special summons for that turn if you do Neos Fusion. So just make sure that's always the last thing that you do. But other than that, have fun with Malicious Bane, Rainbow Neos, and Sunrise. Those are the main ones, and then every now and then the Trinity. Those are the main guys that you're going to be using to fuck over your opponent. And then the Dark Law, which is always nice. You always want Dark Law, when he's on the field, to be on your side of the field. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to y'all later.